All right, legends, let's analyze the situation. Getting a little bit of pumpy action here with the news coming in the last few minutes. We do have that news having a nice reaction on the price action. Let's go through the comment section, say hello to the beautiful community and see what's going on here with the price of Bitcoin and the different scenarios on this live stream. I would like to explain to you why there is high probability that Bitcoin will likely be reaching new all-time highs before the end of the year. We are at least looking for one more all-time high, guys, and this will be explained looking at the daily time frame, okay? Looking at the momentum and analyzing this price structure, which wouldn't make sense for the price to actually top out here with this double top that we've had in the last few days, right? Well, this was actually last week where we formed this double top. We'll be discussing why there is high probability that the price does reach new all-time highs at some point, but it can be a little bit shaky still, guys. It can be a little bit shaky. We could consolidate and range and revisit the lows here again throughout the next coming days. All of this will be explained with technical analysis, Elliott wave theory, the most important levels of support and resistance that we need to take into consideration, and how long can this correction take till we actually go above all-time high again, guys. All of this will be explained in this live stream, so make sure to destroy the like button. We're going to try and do this as organized as possible, going from the higher time frame to the lower time frame and understanding the levels of support and resistance that we do have. We can take a look at the liquidity, because we do have that huge amount of liquidity to the upside, right? This has to be fetched. We need to take that liquidity at some point, right? 115, 116K, even getting all the way up to $120,000, where we do have vast amounts of liquidity, guys, to the upside, right? So the main theory, the main idea, as this is a liquidity game, there's lots of short liquidations to the upside. So in theory, we should, really fetch that liquidity at some point. Will that happen throughout the next coming days? We'll be discussing that. We're getting a nice little pump as we do get the news coming in, guys. We do have GDP growth with 3.3%. It is actually slightly higher than expected. Everything's good in the US by the looks of things, right? GDP, unemployment. Does that mean that there's no need for rate cuts, right? A lot of people are speculating, right, that obviously the rate cuts will likely happen, right? However, if everything's working okay, GDP growth, could it be that we might not get those rate cuts? Let me know in the comment section, what do you think, guys, down below, and we'll be discussing the higher time frame for Bitcoin and the lower time frame, looking at the different possibilities of how the price could move throughout the next coming hours and coming days. Let's say hello to that beautiful community. First of all, 𝗬cie here in the comment section. I typed Dubai is mafia, but there's anyone trustworthy and reliable living there, and Google sent me here. Thank you very much, Mark Dutch, for that insane massive message right over there. How are you doing, 𝗞𝗍𝗍? How are you, Keith Sampson? Let's go. OG Gollum, Pac-Man, what's up, my brother? Thank you very much for joining the stream today. Absolutely awesome. Thank you very much. Mon Keynes, how are you doing? Pac-Man, Immortal, Vampire Cars. Was the PPI good? We did have GDP growth, which was very good. 0.3% higher than expected. Forecast was 3%, and it came out 0.3% higher than expected, guys. Okay, forecast was 3.0. So GDP growth in the US seems like is doing relatively good, and we can see that reaction pump right on the markets. Not sure what the S&P 500 is doing, not very much aware of that, but obviously you would expect that reaction pump from the GDP growth. We're getting that nice big green candlestick with the good news coming in, guys. So let's go right away. First of all, to take a look at Bitcoin, we do have a bit of news that I want to go through in later on, but liquidity, right? Lots of eyes on the liquidity right now. Too much liquidity to the upside. So we would expect the price action to get up there at some point. But most of the scenarios that I do have ready for you here, guys, is that the bottom is not in. Unfortunately, at least with my analysis, you might believe that this was the low. We actually came very close to hit that low today. And I do believe that this low right over here will be taken out at some point. And the whole main reason why is because this movement to the upside is incredibly corrective, right? It doesn't look corrective. It already looked corrective yesterday. We were talking about the multiple 1-2 setup here, discussing many scenarios on why it's unlikely that this is a multiple 1-2. We had the triple 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2 to then get the breakout here. The main reason why this was unlikely is this movement to the upside did not look very promising. And then we had, counting all of this as the corrective move and comparing that with this one being a 1-2, 1-2, would have been extremely long in time compared to the first 1-2, right? 4 times longer, more than 4 times longer than your first 1 and 2. And that is not the preferred scenario when you want to see a multiple 1-2. So everything was pointing out to some kind of a corrective structure to be formed in this momentum to the upside that we had throughout the last few days, right? Where we had that zigzag move to the upside in an ABC. And then we were looking at all of this to be a WXY sideways corrective structure, okay? All right, and then this next move to the upside to potentially form a higher low in this region, right? To then get one more leg to the upside. However, we finished with this impulse. We did form a 5-wave move to the upside here, which had the potential, okay? I did not short this scenario, even though this local double top would have been an option to get into a short. Don't get me wrong here. I was waiting for this lower high to be taken out. It would have been the ideal sweet spot to get in, okay? It did front run the level, okay? It was the previous week close. You know, when you have a plan and you're waiting for the plan and you're waiting for certain levels, sometimes you just front run the level of rejection. It is what it is, but it would have been nice at least for this pump to actually form the swing failure pattern, and that would have made me trigger the short position to get into this movement to the downside that we've had, right? So this is what happens, right? You do create several plans, and sometimes the price doesn't go according to your execution plan, right, for your trade, and it just front runs the level, which it is what it is, right? I have to say, you know, I was very much interested in looking for shorts yesterday in this region, but obviously the best scenario for me anyway would have been getting that movement to the upside, one more high, claim those lower highs of the dead cat bounce, hit the golden pocket from the pivot high of Friday to the pivot low, right, which is just slightly above those lower highs. That would have been ideal to get one failed auction from those lower highs, right? Swing failure pattern, if you wish, from this area. And of course, we did front run it. Now, one of the main reasons we front run that level is because we kind of already formed a 5-wave structure to the upside. We've got a big, massive pump and dump here at the moment. I'm not interested in news related price action, guys. Not interested. Not interested in what happens with the news in this volatility, right? So basically, when we do take a look at the lower time frame here, we did technically pump already in a 5-wave structure, right? The overall question was, can we form here some kind of a contracting diagonal to finish that 5th wave? Or is the 5th wave not finished, right? Can we actually form a pump higher low, then take out the highs. Eventually, as we were claiming the lows here, you know, you're already seeing that sign of weakness, right? So preferred scenario would have been jumping into that local double top. That would have been the ideal trade setup really to get into the short, realizing that maybe this was the 5-wave end. Ultimately, yesterday, we were talking about rejecting in this zone, regardless of getting a higher low and then another high. We were really looking at this to very likely be corrective, okay? Be a corrective structure. And now we have confirmation after this leg to the downside, okay? After this leg to the downside that we've had in the last 24 hours, we have a confirmation that this is corrective. If we would have danced around, I did get into a little long position here and I exited at a slight loss. Not interested. We were losing the levels and I was seeing the high probability that this low is going to be taken out at some point, which I will explain throughout this live stream. So not interested. I'm actually interested more in shorts. Of course, I don't want to short down here. I'm going to be paying attention to this bounce that is, you know, forming right now on the price of Bitcoin. And I'll explain why in today's live stream. Why is there high probability in taking out this low here? And it doesn't matter. We can get an epic bounce and we can actually take out this high right over here. And, you know, we could actually move up. But ultimately, we are looking for this low to be taken at some point. And that has to do that this movement to the upside does not look impulsive. It looks a corrective structure, giving you eventually the idea that you are going to take out that low at some point in the near future. That does not mean, because there are some scenarios that you actually pump up, take out this high, and even go to slightly higher levels. There is that possibility, but that doesn't take the reason off that you cannot take out this low right over here. Okay? So I'll be explaining that why. Well, one of the main reasons why is because we moved up in a very corrective structure. You have 5, 6, 7 waves. You have 7 waves here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. A 7-wave move in an impulse is not possible. You either form 5 waves, 9 waves, because out of the 9 waves, you have 3 inside of the 3rd wave, right? You get the deal. You need 5 waves or 9 waves for an impulse, and 7 waves becomes part of a corrective 3-wave structure where you have a 3-wave move up, you have the corrective sideways structure right over here, and eventually you look for the next move to the upside. This would be it right over here. Sorry, my bad. I was counting this one as well. So you have this being a zigzag, this being your zigzag correction, and this another impulsive move to the upside. So that is turning this into your W, X, and Y right over here. 7-wave move to the upside, which is coming to that big cluster of resistance, right, that we were talking about yesterday. We actually front-runned all of this interesting zone above 113.7K. That would have been the ideal sweet spot for the level to tap before correcting down in the last 24 hours, right? But we were very much aware that we were looking for a move down, right? Regardless of another high, we were looking for a move down yesterday that was very, very likely to happen. So let's discuss a little bit what's happening here with this movement to the downside. If we have moved in a 3-wave corrective structure to the upside, what are the different scenarios that could be developing throughout the next coming days, right? And then we'll go through the lower time frames and try and discuss what is going on here on the lower time frames, right? What's all of this movement down? What are we looking at most importantly, and see the different projections. So in a nutshell, let's get the levels. Let's clean up the chart right away. Smash up the like button. It was a shame. Let me know in the comment section, did anybody manage to short yesterday this area right over here, as we were looking for a pullback? I would have preferred to hit the previous week close, guys. That was, for me, crucial. That was for me crucial to be hit and create that swing failure pattern from these lower highs. It was part of my plan. We didn't reach that level. We front runned it and got the pullback. Let me know in the comment section, did anybody take that short position, because I didn't, guys. Let me know right away. Hi, Andy. Take a look at Rune. Yeah, we can take a look at Rune later on. We can take a look at some altcoins later on. Okay, guys. Dan, you guys short. Pump my bags. Yeah, I am in a short position on Ethereum. Okay, I am still short on Ethereum, and it's not doing that bad. Okay, of course I'm short from higher levels, right? I wouldn't short down here. There's no zone to short. I actually attempted a long position today and exited the trade. Just not really, you know, I'm looking for bigger swings, guys. I'm looking for bigger swings. My main P&L from the last 30 days is profits from this movement on Bitcoin and profits from this movement down on Ethereum. Two main trades that have made me over $100,000 in the last 30 days. Okay, I shared my P&L with the community, and those are the two main trades that I got into. So it doesn't mean, you know, it all depends on how liquid you are, right? I'm quite liquid, so I can afford to get into two main trades in the month, right? So I'm always looking for those bigger swing opportunities. And the long trade that I got into Bitcoin today was not mainly a scalp. I was looking for a potential rally to come all the way up to the highs. And depending on the sign of strength, I would have added to the position. As we were losing a major level and realizing that there's high probability to take out this low at some point, I'm not interested in this long. You know, even though it's in your interest to look for longs on the movements down here, without a doubt. Not looking for shorts. So we got that little pump today with the news. Let's see if we do get that momentum to the upside. But everything, all of the scenarios, despite the price taking out the local highs of yesterday, all of the scenarios, okay, point out that there is high probability in taking out 108.7k low of Tuesday. All of the scenarios, guys, and it all has to do with this downtrend structure and the uptrend structure that we finished in the last few days with this movement down. Having this movement down is a confirmation that this movement up is not a leading impulsive move to the upside, right? Either in a contracting diagonal or an impulse or any of, you know, not an impulsive move to the upside in a 5-wave structure, which is making it corrective. So as this movement to the upside is looking corrective, you know, you obviously come to the idea that at some point you are going to take out that low at some point, and the price could bounce here. You know, it can do that. Okay, but you're looking for the lows to be taken very, very likely. And there are some scenarios that are pointing out that a lower high in this region is very possible. So yeah, we'll be discussing that right away, legends. Okay, we will be discussing that right away. So first of all, what scenarios are we looking at? Okay, and you might think, well, this is the low, how can you be bearish down here? It's time to get into longs, you numbnut, right? Why would you be bearish? This is the reversal point for Bitcoin. It all has to do on realizing that we're likely going to take out this low at some point. Okay, and there's several ways on how the price can develop throughout the next coming days, where I will realize where I want to position myself. And that's it. You know, I only need one big trade. I only need one trade to make my month, guys. And you know, I've transitioned into the scalping world. Devil is into more scalping, a little bit more aggressive than I am. I'm really transitioned into scalping, into more swing trading, more chilled way of trading. And it's just the style that I transitioned, going through a higher time frame and having more capital, which is what you build up throughout the years. Because in the first few years of trading, it is very natural to become a day trader, a scalper and a day trader, right? Looking for more intraday setups, because that is the way where you can increase your capital in a faster way. However, you can lose money much faster as well, right? Don't think that because you know, the more you trade, the more money you're going to make. Of course you can if you're very, very good in scalping and knowing exactly the levels of rejection and the levels of bouncing. Okay. But the reality is, for most of the people, the more trades you want to get into, the more probabilities you have in losing, because this is the main issue of the trader. Emotions, risk management. It's just the natural way of trading, which, you know, is going to lead you to lose money at the end of the day if you're not very careful and you're very selective and you have very good risk management. Now, I entered a trade today, which I was not happy with. I can explain that trade. And, you know, I shared it with the community. And, you know, also 𝗬𝗍𝘆. I know 𝗬𝗍𝘆 probably is still in a long position. He re-entered. He did like this zone. But for me, I wasn't that interested. There was a main reason, right? We were talking about a possibility here. In a WXY, you can form a flat on your latest wave. So we had the zigzag up, still counting this as a sideways corrective structure in your wave X, and the possibility of forming a flat here, sweep up the lows and get the bounce. However, most commonly, okay, for your B wave, so this was the speculation of today, right? Can we form a flat here to finish your wave Y? And, you know, technically it was okay. We were sitting at the point of control. We ended up bouncing, right? Losing it. And when we lost it, I wanted to cut. I'm thinking, you know, it's not worth it. It's not worth it because I know that this could have been the end of this WXY, as I explained before, with a Y finishing here, right? And when you come that low, to believe that this is going to be a flat, you know, it is rare. I mean, you know, technically it is still possible. I think we just barely scratched the 1.618 extension. Just barely scratched the 1.618 extension if you're considering this your A wave, right? Which is a little bit too far off for a flat. So is it possible? Absolutely. I mean, it's still possible. It just decreases the probabilities. Okay, but this is why you could technically still pump up here to the 113.6k zone from yesterday. It's still very much a possibility. Looking at this scenario, you're literally forming a larger, you know, flat for your Y wave, right? And this is your W. I'm not sure why I put the Y right over there. So yeah, technically we can come on reach yesterday's highs. Okay, it is a possibility, but this would still turn all of this into a corrective structure. It would still be a corrective move, and you're still looking for the price to roll over down at some point. So yeah, I mean, this is the thing, right? You know, you can pump all the way up to $114,000 and even 115. Right, which would be a very extensive ABC flat if we're counting this as the B wave. It's not my preferred scenario. I'm just letting you know that it is possible. It is a possibility that your Y wave, okay, this is your W, your Y wave still could be the flat structure here. I'm not liking it just because the B wave really, you know, got really low. It's too low for me, too low, and obviously it is decreasing in probabilities. That doesn't mean it's not impossible, but just decreases the probabilities. So regardless if that were to happen, which would be the most local bullish case scenario, right, where you have your wave W right over here in a zigzag to the upside, right? You have your WXY here for your wave X. And here, right now, you haven't finished your wave Y, which would be the flat pump, down, and pump. I like to see this more as an impulsive move in 5 waves, if I'm honest with you. And inside of an A wave, of a flat, you want to see 3 waves, and 3 waves down, and then obviously impulsively move up to finish your flat. That's how you'd want the price to develop. And I have a little problem right now with the A wave. This one right over here. It looks impulsive. And you cannot have an impulsive move in an A wave of a flat. So that's the little bit of the situation here with this WXY ending up in a flat in your Y wave. So not liking it too much, but just realizing that that is possible. If the price were to aggressively, you know, throughout the next coming hours, come and take out the level where I have my plan ready, I still like this zone for a rejection. I still like it. I need to see the rejection eventually, but I still like it because it still becomes a major zone of confluence, right? Even extending to 115K, right, on the most bullish side, if that were to be the case, which is sitting at, you know, the valley area low of this entire trading zone. You got the anchored VWAP, which is coming down as well here, just at the 114.4K zone. And obviously you have the golden pocket from this pivot high to the pivot low. It just becomes a big area where to get the rejection. Big zone after sweeping up the highs of Sunday. It still becomes a very interesting area. And as you realize that this movement to the upside is not an impulsive move, it's not a leading move to the upside, the most bullish case that I see is the flat here in that WXY that, you know, with a miracle, you would come all the way up here to this zone to take out the local highs, which will end up, you know, looking for a rejection back down. So that still becomes my level of interest, guys, to check the reaction, check the price action, and look for a short if we were to come up there. I am interested in longs, and I do see the price of Bitcoin hitting new all-time highs before the end of the year. We ain't going to talk about the exact timing, but because we could still be very much ranging and corrective for several weeks. And why is that? You may ask, you know, why is that? And there is a simple answer to that. The rally that we had since April, the rally that we've had since April, the beginning of April, guys, we've formed, you know, this massive move up, which is, it's an entire wave. This is an entire wave that went through April and May. Big wave. Then obviously your next wave, which is pretty clear, is this one, right? This no longer becomes part of this initial wave to the upside from April and May, right? So that's where the wave stops. So you have another wave here. That's another one. Then eventually you have the next push to the upside in between June and July, which finishes here. So we got another wave up, right? Another wave to the upside. This is crucial, guys, because people will not understand why the heck are we ranging and dumping and manipulation and all of that nonsense. The price is primed to continue correcting and being in a larger range just because of the timing. Just because of the timing of this huge, gigantic rally. People are saying that this bull run sucks. This bull run has been epic for Bitcoin, guys. It's been epic. It's been massive. You know, we finally got above $100,000, which a few years ago we thought was, you know, it was a pipe dream. It was impossible. I don't think Bitcoin will ever hit 100K, right? Or it will hit it in the future, but it's going to be in many years. This is a big move up eventually. So we've had a very good bull run for Bitcoin. For Ethereum, we hit all-time highs. So it's the altcoins that's the problem. The problem in crypto is the altcoins, most of the altcoins, right? So anyway, let's just continue with this theory, guys, because, hear me out, because it is crucial to understand this, to realize that there's low probability in bouncing here and forming a V shape in the next coming days. You know, if you expect the all-time high to be hit by next week, I can already tell you that it's a low probability scenario based on the timing and the structure. It would not make sense for the all-time high to be hit in a massive V-shaped recovery in a matter of a few days. So it would be a little bit of wishful thinking, right? I do get it. You know, in this industry, there's either super bullish and buy every single dip that happens for Bitcoin, or there's people that are very bearish, double top, that's it, bull runs over. There's not many people that are in the middle, right? Like myself, that you kind of need to adapt to the situation and the price action. You need to adapt. I'm bullish, I'm bearish, right? I'm interested in longs, and I'm in a short on Ethereum. So you know how that, you know, what this is how, what you call, you know, looking for trades and adapting. You know, I am bullish on Ethereum, and I do see Ethereum hitting new all-time highs. Very likely. So this is only a trade that I see the potential for Ethereum to get down below $4,000, 4,100. That's it. Once we get down to the low 4K levels, I am out, and I will be extremely interested in looking for swing longs on Ethereum. In the middle of this range on Ethereum, I'm kind of not interested in the middle from the peak, you know, from all-time high and the peak low here. I'm not interested. I'm not interested in the kind of trading I was interested in long in Ethereum. If you're in the group, you will know, you know, in this zone, but I thought that the price was possibly going to range a little bit longer here. Thought the range was going to extend a little bit more, but it didn't. So I missed the long position to all-time high. But if you miss the long, don't miss the short. And, you know, when I was doing the technical analysis and realizing the timing and the impulsive move here, it would have been rare for the price to shoot up from here. That it's not right. The timing is not right. And there was a way to find this, you know, find out that this was a 3-wave structure with a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here in your C wave. And there was a way of obviously of looking at a 5-wave finish. Regardless if it's an ABC or a 5-wave, you are looking for this wave to very likely top out here, to get a correction and then moon, or actually form the ABC flat. And that's literally what I am looking for. And it is a swing trade, and it requires patience. And I still think, believing that Bitcoin will claim those lows at 107K, that it should drag Ethereum slightly to the downside. We can go through Ethereum later on. And I do know that, yeah, we could form a higher low here. And, you know, I get stopped out at break even, and I should have taken the rest of the profits. But that is part of the game. You need to risk it for the biscuit. So I like my entry. I realize that the possibilities of coming down here. So I'm going to maintain still a fat chunk of that short. And I am interested in looking for longs on Ethereum. But however, you know, it's not yet anyway. Not with this price action. Not really interested here. Because I do realize that this could be your first initial wave to the downside. If we are going to range here for a little bit longer, I will consider closing, because I will realize that this could be a sideways, you know, corrective structure. This movement down, if we claim the lows on Ethereum, which I do think, you know, could very much happen in the next coming hours, possibly, right? We were actually pretty close in taking out that low. I think it is going to be taken. If the price of Ethereum takes out this swing low, right, from the 26th of August, and it does not break down, like take a push down, like push significantly, and we form a swing failure pattern, like a double bottom, we get down and then we recover, I will exit, you know, more than 50% of that trade, realizing that what I want to see here really is a kind of a push down, right, and a 4-5, you know, take out those lows. I want to see this price action moving down with power. And if we do not move down with power and we fail to do so, well, eventually I would be looking at this at some kind of a 3-wave structure. And, you know, start thinking of exiting and maybe looking for longs. If we do form a nice impulsive move here where we get very close in taking out these highs, I realized that, yeah, we're going to take out all-time high at some point. So it will be time to transition and look for long positions later on if we get this movement. So, the information is crucial here. The information is crucial here on Ethereum to realize, when a movement has priority to the upside or to the downside, right? We take out the low here and we don't get follow through to take out these lows, and we get an epic bounce. Well, yeah, there's no longer me wanting to be in that short position from the swing failure pattern of all-time high. And I will be looking for longs later on, of course, with that sign of strength. If you get a massive bounce here with 5 waves, you realize that this is a correction. So yeah, then obviously I would be paying attention very, very closely to how we're ranging here to obviously hop into a long position. So anyway, let's go back here with Bitcoin and just continue with the explanation that there's likely no all-time high to happen in a short period of time, right? Not even 1 week, maybe not even 2 weeks. And the simple reason is, from this pump that we had in April and May, we corrected down, then we had the next big major leg to the upside. That's your third wave. We can see it right there. And this is your big next major corrective move before you did hit the highs. So we got another wave right over here. And then this one right over here. So you can see that you've got that contracting diagonal in a 5-wave structure. And when you do form this, you are expecting a pretty large 3-wave move, either sideways or either aggressively to the downside. You are expecting a little bit larger in time of a corrective structure with the potential of going to the low 100K levels. That is without a doubt a possibility. So what I've done here with the drawing on the higher time frame is, literally a 5-wave move to the upside. And what we're looking at here to be developed throughout the last few days from the rejection of all-time high and the range that we're forming here is looking at a corrective move that needs a little bit of time. It does need a little bit of time. What is usual on that timing is, at a bare minimum, okay, most commonly, right, in the most common scenario, looking at the timing from an impulsive move, is you're looking for it to cross the 382 Fibonacci time from the lows to the highs. When we do take a look at how many times do you cross the 382 Fibonacci time from that impulse, when you do take a look at all of the waves on the higher time frame, lower time frame, it is over 89-90% of the times that you do cross the 382 Fibonacci time. So it's looking at the probability side of it, right? To correct down before crossing the 382 Fibonacci time and then get an explosive move happens very rare, very rare. So timing is without a doubt very, very important when you're looking at your trading opportunities. People don't pay too much attention in time, right? People would just say, we've dipped now into support, it's time to bounce and go to all-time high. And then the bounce fails and claims the low again. And it's manipulation, it's this, it's the other, right? We would come with any excuse when people do not know the knowledge of timing, right? Of the waves. So the 382 here is coming all the way up, into October almost, right? Late September, right? So you might think, wow, that is like, still another month of a correction. Well, yeah, definitely it is a possibility. That doesn't mean that a flat is not possible, right? Because then obviously you could take out the highs and then come and take out the lows later on, right? And then, you definitely have this scenario of, hey, you said that we would correct, right? At least till, late September, give or take. and we've taken out all-time high mid-September, right? Just say, let's just go with that bold prediction there. Well, you could, definitely form a flat. If you were to rally up here throughout the next 1 to 2 weeks into all-time high, I would be very, very skeptical of a successful breakout and look for one more pullback, right, for a few weeks to have the potential of claiming the lows again, right? And this is higher time frame, but to get a V-shaped recovery from here and break out successfully after this structure would be very, very rare to happen, okay? Just looking at the timing, the massive rally that we've had in 3-4 months, it's just very rare when you do take a look at the data and the waves and the timing. It just doesn't happen very often, not often at all. So that's a little bit of the theory that I want to give in here, that you might still correct for a couple of weeks, give or take, right? When we do take a look at the price action to the downside, okay, there's not many bullish scenarios to believe that this is the low and you're going to form a higher low here successfully and start shooting up here. And primarily, it's because of the movement up that we've had in the last few days. There is a big problem with this move. It is not bullish at all. This movement that we've had in the last few days is not bullish. You might believe that that's not, that it's BS, guys, but once that low is taken, do not be surprised. Okay? Do not be surprised, because this is no kind of leading move to the upside in an impulse in a 5-wave structure that is going to give you that high chance in moving up in a 3rd wave. It's just not the kind of structure that you want to see on the chart. So you take that with a pinch of salt, guys. I'm just giving you, obviously, the reading of the last few days, especially with this movement down that we've had today, right? Kind of confirming that was it, right? This was it. This was actually the end. And overall, yesterday, we were very much aware of the resistance that we had here. Anchored VWAP, the value area low, right? The lower highs of Sunday. So let me know. I'm not sure if anybody did manage to get into that short position. The markets get back to what it was doing. News pumps are usually only good for a 5-minute trade. Yeah, very true. Very true. I am panic buying market BNB. Let's go. BTC top is in, says Lance. In the short term, that is for sure. Suzanne, 107k big liquidity, says Suzanne. Much love to you. Make sure to destroy the like button, legends, if you do enjoy the content. Right away, we've got over 500 people watching the stream. We're just giving a bit of higher time frame perspective. Then we are zooming in here on the lower time frame. Yeah, we know what happens with the news pumps, right? Be cautious with good news. Pump and dump is common as well, right? So can we trust the pump of a news, right? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So let's see how many likes we do have, guys. Let's get to at least 200 likes. We will go do a giveaway of $500. Not even with free money, guys. We get the likes pumping. $500 will be given away if we get to 500 likes. Easy peasy. We'll do that right now on stream to give, do this. Boom, boom, boom. Pac-Man, you're the winner of $500. That's what we would do, right? Do a little scroll here in the comment section. Devil, my man. Could be a leading structure, but there is still a lot that needs to happen for confirmation. A leading structure, is that the movement to the upside? Legends, what a nice bounce. Devil, yes, what a nice bounce we did get, but it is rejecting a bit aggressively here. We don't trust the news. We don't trust the news pumps, guys. I don't trust it. I do not trust it. Who shorted Bitcoin yesterday? That's what I want to know. Did anybody get into a short yesterday? Devil, my man, much love to you. Go and check out Devil. He's an absolute legend, guys. He does provide insane technical analysis. He did long. He did stay in the long. I chickened out. I chickened out, guys. Sometimes you need a chicken out, right? I chickened out with this movement to the downside just to stay safe. I'm a very, very conservative trader. I like to protect my capital. Okay? That's one of the main things. A lot of people want to know about technical analysis, you know, trading setups, levels, but the most important thing is risk management, the protect of capital. It is simple. I can show you my P&L of the last 30 days and a few stop losses that have been hit, and still very much in the green. So it is a very, very personal journey, right? Trading at the end of the day. We can share levels, share setups. You really need to take action on the risk management at the end of the day. Because I know people that have burnt half of their account in a same trade, where I maybe risked, you know, 0.4% or 0.5% of my capital, right? And other people have actually, you know, lost as well 1%, or they've actually lost 20% or 30%. So on a same trade, some people might get stopped out at break even. Some people might get stopped out and lose 50% of their account. And some of them that manage risk accordingly will lose 1%, right? So anyway, I know that's boring talk, guys, but it is extremely important always. I shorted Ethereum yesterday and took profit before the news. Absolute legend. Maku, absolute legend. What are your thoughts on Solana? Yeah, Solana, we did discuss it. I need to talk about Bitcoin on the different structures that could develop, okay, in this momentum to the downside. And they're not looking that great. They all point out that this low has to be taken at some point, guys. Unfortunately, there is a chance of taking out the high before taking out this low, which will also be discussed, okay? But Solana, lots of people wanting to know about these different cryptos. Solana is, yeah, I mean, we talked about Solana in a few streams ago, and this structure to the upside is very disturbing. Extremely disturbing. Extremely disturbing. You know, you have the potential of this being a contracting diagonal, which would be a leading diagonal. If you have something else, such as a multiple 1-2 setup, you prefer the multiple 1-2s have higher probability than a contracting leading diagonal. This would have to be a leading diagonal, because eventually after this big pullback, you know, you would want to see a higher low eventually and look for, you know, a corrective move here on Solana. Solana has the potential of forming a multiple 1-2 setup here. And you know what would be interesting on Solana? Eventually you don't want to long here at the top. I mean, you can do whatever you want, but I would not want to long. I would rather speculate in a long position if we were to correct down, you know, at the 200 to 190 level, okay? And that's with the same theory of trying to get in between the 50% and the 7/8 Fibonacci, right? We talk about this a lot on the channel, where when you have a major move to the upside that looks very impulsive, what you want to be looking at most commonly, if you're looking for a wave 2, is a bounce in between the 50% and the 7/8 Fibonacci. Let's just clean up the chart here 1 second, because there's a lot of noise, right? Big leg up, and this is the 4-hourly time frame. 50% to the 7/8 is usually the zone where you bounce when you finished an impulse, the start of an impulse of a major correction, right? You've moved down here very aggressively. So you got that correction. Where we bounced was the golden pocket. The next leg up here on Solana, corrective move, when we pull the Fibonacci retracement from that second low to the high, same scenario. The golden pocket actually held here. So golden pocket from this move, golden pocket from this move. Let's see the other one. I bet it's golden pocket also. Yeah, golden pocket also. So it's been a golden pocket higher low scenario here from every wave. Golden pocket here, golden pocket here, golden pocket here. And the other one almost hit the 7/8. It does look pretty steep. Oh no, it didn't actually. It actually got bounced at the golden pocket. So all of them have got to bounce every time you created a new high here. On Solana, you bounced on the retracement at the golden pocket. That's in between 50% and the 7/8. You know how magical that is, right? That is actually pretty nice to see. So the only way that I would speculate in getting into another long, if this is going to be a multiple 1-2 setup, which would be absolutely insanity, because what you would be looking at here throughout the next coming weeks is breaking out in a third wave, 4, 5, 4, 5, right? 4, 5, and you're actually, you know, looking for all-time highs eventually on Solana to be hit, because this would, you know, absolutely explode. So I think that there is a high chance for this to happen on Solana, guys. You know, we're just going with a bullish structure. This is an ascending wedge. It's a bearish pennant. It's going to break down, right? That's the average Joe mentality. It does have the possibility eventually, because it could be still a contracting diagonal, right? I wouldn't go, you know, this could have been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to finish that end of the fifth wave. And then it does get the corrective move down. It breaks down later on. But if I wanted to attempt a long position, realizing that a multiple 1-2 could happen, it just looks beautiful for a multiple 1-2. This really does look really good. The only zone of interest is you want to get in where the wave 2s usually bounce, between 50% and 7/8. So your best chance here is in this box, just as you would have got in here, or you would have got in here, or you would have got in here based on these rallies. Golden pocket, golden pocket, golden pocket, golden pocket would be your best chance here to speculate that this is going to break out in a third wave later on at some point, right? So stop loss beneath the low, and you know, depending on the movement down here, your best zone would be the golden pocket area, right? Between 50% and 7/8 Fibonacci would be your best zone to look for the long position in a nutshell here on Solana. And if you get stopped out, then so be it. So be it. It does not matter, right? You're getting stopped out. You're managing risk. It does not matter if you do get into it long and you get stopped out. But if this trade plays out and you do have the multiple 1-2, the risk to reward can be absolutely massive, because you would really smash out. If this is a multiple 1-2 structure in the last few months, you will destroy the highs. You will literally fly, as we do know crypto, right? So, you know, we're talking about 2021 price action kind of style, where you just fly, right? And this is the structure that has the potential to do that. And you know, we could be just at the very last stages of that happening. Does that mean we long here at the top? Well, no, because you could form another 1-2, right? This is like long in here. This is like long in here. You don't want a long there, because this is what could happen. So where do you want a long? At the higher low. So you want to be patient, and if it does leave without us, then it leaves without us, right? You just have to let it go. So yeah, anyway, that's a little bit of what we've seen here on Solana throughout the last few months. BTC lower time frames, please. Let's take a look at BTC here for most of the legends in the community. Let's go, legends. On weekly, no, but RSI gates are open to the downside, says Suzanne. Is that on Solana or on BTC? We can take a look at that right away. Let's talk about great stream, Andy. Check out Fartcoin. Guys, oh man, crypto, the entire crypto industry has turned into a meme, guys, right? This is not serious anymore. We're trying to focus on Bitcoin, Ethereum, another L1, which would be Solana. And of course, we do have the meme coins. I mean, meme coins are very, very speculative and very nice. They can, you know, when they go, they go. When they go, they go. I think Fartcoin is at an insane level, guys. It is actually a very, very interesting level. Sweep of the lows. And this is very common to believe that it's an M pattern, a double top, and you break down and, you know, that's it. We go to much lower levels. But this is such a common area to create, you know, a liquidity grab, failed auction, might go slightly lower, might take out this low, and then fail to break down you know, this happens a lot, guys. This does happen a lot. Come down to the low of the big range, take the low, take the liquidity, and then moon mission. And as we expect the altcoin season, right, as many do, well, you know, this is the perfect sweet spot here eventually for Fartcoin. Anyway, let's go through Bitcoin, because we are Bitcoin and Ethereum traders. I have integrated Ethereum on my analysis the last few weeks, just because obviously there is a lot of attention on Ethereum. It is a high cap coin, okay, and the moves are very, very nice to trade as well, similar to Bitcoin. When we start going down the rabbit hole and looking at lower cap coins, the technical analysis it comes a little bit more complex. Do you still have fart limit orders at 0.71? That alerts maybe, but yeah, at 0.71. I have alerts. I'm not sure. I can't remember on which chart I have alerts on Fartcoin. Might be Coinbase. No, I do have alerts on a chart. It doesn't matter, but I would get the message anyway. But yeah, for sure, I would be very, very interested if you even claimed this low right over here. This is a kind of an area that, you know, sometimes you're waiting for the best trade option. This is like for me yesterday. I missed out the short on Bitcoin because I was waiting patiently for the Sunday lower highs to be hit, guys. And does that make me a bad trader? You missed the short, ha ha ha. No, it's just you need to create these plans and, you know, execute them once the price are hitting those levels. I think, you know, if you would have paid attention on yesterday, on yesterday's price action, we were analyzing this in the pro community with 𝗬𝗿𝘆 as well, and 𝗬𝗿𝘆 was, you know, really pointing out this could be the high, and even one more high is possible. But ultimately, when you do create, and we do explain this a lot on the channel, guys, it really depends on how aggressive you are. I knew that this was likely going to correct at some point, because the biggest wave happened here. And when you form the biggest wave after an impulse, you realize that what comes next is going to lose momentum. It's going to lose momentum. It can get double, triple toppy, you know, it's a double, triple toppy zone where you want to get into a short. And this is why this double top would have been good. This double top would have been good. Get stopped out later on at break even, and then look for the next swing failure pattern of the double top. So yeah, I mean, you could have shorted this anyway. I just didn't short because I was too blinded in hitting that lower high. It was so close. And I think we could get one little push up, and that would be ideal. That would be the ideal level. Sometimes you're waiting for the ideal trade and the price action leaves without you. So with that theory on Fartcoin, you know, we've already tested this major low on the higher time frame. So it doesn't mean that we can, you know, take out this low. So depending on your strategy, you can get in with a 0.5% of capital here with a stop loss, give a bit of room, because this is a swing trade, right? If we do bounce in the next coming weeks, we are looking for these highs to be taken on Fartcoin at $1.70. So you can enter with a small position. And once we have a sign of strength, and by a sign of strength, I mean an impulsive move to the upside and then a corrective structure, that's the moment that we can add 1% more to that lower percentage trade, right? This is a swing trade, guys. This is looking at the 4-hourly time frame, right? This would take many, many weeks to develop eventually. And then there's me, that I'm waiting for this low to be taken, and it never gets taken, and I miss the trade. So you have the option in getting into a smaller position here, and if you take out the low and you get a recovery, you add to that. You know, you get into the trade, or you add to the position if you're already in, or you get the sign of strength and you get the pullback. You enter here, or you add if you're already in the position, right? If you entered here, you're happy in adding to the position because you realize that this has been your first leg up in an impulse, and this could have been, you know, that low, right? There's many ways to manage a trade. There's many ways to manage a trade. Of course, I'm more focused throughout the last few months in swing trading. I'm more focused on swings, and yeah, Bitcoin's coming straight back down here with that pump. Not really interested in the news volatility, guys. They're dangerous, right? And as explained at the beginning of the stream, there's a high probability in taking out this low, okay? So the price could go dance, go in circles, come back, come forward, come up, come down. I'm looking to take out that low at some point, and then we can analyze what could happen next. So what is interesting here, let's continue with Bitcoin, is how we moved to the downside, and most importantly this leg up, which we will be discussing throughout these waves. There's many ways in counting these waves, but it's been very messy, very choppy. You have multiple scenarios where you can fit in some waves here, right? You can fit in a few scenarios, and you need to build them up to realize what are the different probabilities for the price action. And I can already tell you that really all of them are pointing out to take out the low. And thanks to the latest move that we had yesterday with this drop coming this low as well. All of them point out that this low is likely going to be taken. I can't say it is going to be taken. And it all is thanks to this movement up. Thanks to this movement up and this correction, that's it. You've got the information that knows that this low is going to be taken at some point. I mean, with high probability. So when we do discuss the movement down here, this is where it gets fun, right? Where there's several ways in counting all of this structure. You got the most bearish case scenario, which I am not leaning on, guys. I am not leaning on the most bearish case, but it is possible eventually. As we are downtrending, we haven't broken structure. Breaking structure is breaking out from the last lower highs since you create a low. So yeah, we're very far away in breaking the structure. So you always need to realize the downtrend. Till the downtrend is not broken, the trend is your friend, and it's down. So you need to give a shot here for the multiple 1-2 setup. When will this multiple 1-2 setup be invalidated? When you take out this high, for me already. Well, no, sorry, my bad. Not true, because we could still form a flat here. This could still be a flat, and you could still put the wave 2 here. Okay, so it would not be invalidated. The real invalidation would be taking out this high at 117,000. So yeah, I mean, this could really move to the right. Still would be a possible multiple 1-2 setup. So yeah, this is a problem. There is a problem with this multiple 1-2. You need a big pump to invalidate it, which would be coming all the way up here. Once you come all the way up here, this would be an ultimate confirmation that you're going to take out all-time high at some point, because all of the impulsive moves, all of the possible impulsive moves that could happen, which is this multiple 1-2 or form a flat here and your wave 2 moves here, are invalidated once you take out $117,000. So it's in your best interest, once this high is taken, to aggressively look for longs on the movements to the downside. Really study the movements down and look at the different projections that could happen based on the waves and the information that you have. But already taking out this lower high, that's if we do not nuke down eventually, which is a possibility. As long as you do not continue the impulsive moves, and at some point you do come up to this high, you're invalidating the bearish case scenario. automatically converting all of this movement to the downside in part of a corrective structure. And you know, later on, whatever happens here later on, it doesn't really matter. You need to really study that price action. You will very likely hit all-time high at some point in the near future, right? Because that's the highest probability scenario once you invalidate the bearish case. So yeah, I mean, for the moment, well, we cannot say that is what's happening here, unfortunately, right? So we are still moving down. You can count a 5-wave structure, even though it is not the most beautiful one. Inside of this movement down, you got this sideways corrective move. Then you got your next movement in an impulse here, and then a small little 4 and 5. You can count a 5-wave move technically here. And then eventually your wave 2 is a flat. This has to be a flat. There's no other way in counting this. Because you got a powerful move up with high volume that did not form a higher low. And if that is the case, you're looking at this to be a C wave or a Y wave, some kind of a correction. So that automatically converts, you know, you need to look at the previous wave. So that wave did this and the other wave did that. Well, it's a expanding flat. There's no more to it. It's not, there's no more science to this. If you got a high volume pump that does not form a higher low, it is not part of an impulse of a wave 1 or a wave 3, or, you know, you're looking at it to be, you know, a C wave. And obviously you need to move back to identify the structure. And obviously the expanding flat is the scenario here. So this movement down could also be counted as a 5-wave move down. Okay. You got a little bit of a running flat here in your wave 4. And you do have a 5-wave move down very possibly in this movement. So that's an issue. That's an issue. Then we'll get to the other scenarios. So this leg down can be counted as an impulse. This leg down can be counted as an impulse. Obviously, we know that this is a flat. And obviously, we know that this is a 7-wave structure, which is a corrective structure. We do know that movements down are looking impulsive, can be counted as an impulse, and movements up are corrective, cannot be counted as an impulse. This is a correction in a flat, and this is a correction in a double zigzag. So you realize that you're going to take out that low at some point. That low is going to be taken at some point, very, very likely. I cannot wrap my head around with this being, you know, a contracting diagonal, right? or you know, there's just not a valid count, at least for me. So the most bearish case scenario is you continue the movement down, you get a corrective bounce, just like you did here, and then at some point you nuke down, right? Several $1,000s very aggressively with high volume. And it would catch a lot of people to surprise. And I don't want to make, you know, I don't want to fear the people, right? Because this is not, for me, the highest probability at the moment. I am looking for more larger corrective ranges, which we are going to discuss in the next coming minutes. But it is possible, right? If you do have a possible count, you need to show it. You need to show it, right? Now, I don't like this movement, really, for a multiple 1-2, even though it would still be okay. I mean, it's still okay. It's still a valid count. I cannot, you know, there's nothing that is telling me it looks awful, really. It's just not the most beautiful momentum. Anyway, I got a super chat here. Let's go through the super chat. What do you think about head and shoulders on ADA on the 4-hourly? Cool, Handuk, how are you doing, my man? ADA on the 4-hourly. Okay, let's go quickly through that super chat, guys. You know that super chats have priority, and we can take a look at them and try and come with the projections. ADA. On the 4-hourly. Okay, well, the 4-hourly or the daily, I guess, higher time frame. This movement down from all-time high. Well, is this all-time high? $1 hang on a second. Is that all-time high on ADA? No, it probably isn't, right? No, it's, yeah. Just because I don't have ADA in my portfolio, I do not know where all-time high is. $3. So when we zoom in on the 4 hourly time frame, what we do realize here, since this pivot high that was created in December of 2024, the movement to the downside is extremely corrective. It's very overlappy and it's very choppy. And as there's so much overlap from your biggest move down here to this pump to then the next leg down that should have broken down successfully, if you are thinking about an impulse, you had a massive rally here to take out this high, which is absolutely ridiculous. This is some kind of a correction, which is pointing out that ADA at some point in the near future is going to be taking out that $1.35 from December of 2024. So I mean, if you are in longs on ADA or you're an ADA holder, it makes sense to still hold at least to $1.30, right? I mean, that's still from current price levels, regardless if we go lower, a 60% pump. So there is high probability for another 60%, at least from current price levels. It doesn't matter if you dip or not. You still have upside potential to maximize your gains on ADA, just because you have high probability that this movement that started from the correction of December of 2024 is corrective. It's a corrective structure. And if you move down in a corrective structure, you're not moving down impulsively, which automatically means that big, massive continuation to the downside is unlikely, right? So it's unlikely. So it is a corrective zone. It is a corrective zone, and we need to take a look at the start of the movements up that we've had from the low. And my question is right now, did this low take out this one? Yeah, you just barely created a swing failure pattern from that low. So we need to count this as the low for the moment and analyze the pumps from this low right over here, which is most important to give us the projections, right? So let's go right away through the projections on ADA from the pump, and holy moly, this is a beautiful, beautiful pump, if you ask me. Beautiful, beautiful pump on ADA that looks very impulsive since June, because you have your first major leg up and first higher low, then you form another higher high and another higher low. Then you get the big wave to the upside, right? And we're labeling this as your wave 1, your wave 2, your next wave 1, which is, the smaller one, right? From the lower time frame, your wave 3, nice consolidation running flat if you wish, or a triangle. We ain't going to go too specific here, but this would be your wave 4 consolidation, big spike up in your wave 5, and then another correction in your wave 4 and your wave 5. So this movement up right over here, this is your wave 3. It's a very, very good impulsive move. That's your wave 3 from the higher time frame, right? So you got 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Your second 1, 2 is part of the third wave. And it's really, really textbook, as you can see, right? Really, really textbook impulsive move right there. 2 1 2s, 2 4 5s. With your largest move being right over here with the highest amount of volume, which you always want to label as a wave 3. So without a doubt, this movement up has looked very impulsive. Very, very good. Nice correction in a three-way structure on ADA. and then this rally over here. Now let's take a look at that rally, because you could have had an expanding fifth wave here. So this does look very impulsive. What is good about ADA is that this movement down is looking very corrective. There is high probability that this low will not be taken, and this high will be taken at some point. So as we do explain, when you identify an impulsive move like this one right over here, from a big major correction, where you bounce is in between the 50% and the 7/8 Fibonacci. You know, you can't give the exact level. You need to give a zone. It's a zone because sometimes you hit 50%, sometimes you hit the 7/8. So when we take a look at Fibonacci, from the pivot low to the pivot high here, we bounced in between 50% and the golden pocket, right? Golden pocket was not reached. This is the zone where you would expect it to bounce, which it did, to take out the high. So when we do take a look at ADA, this move, I mean, you could arguably discuss it's an expanding fifth wave. Your wave 4 did not overlap from your wave 1. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, expanding fifth wave. We can give that here as the impulse. So what does that mean? I mean, if you're in doubt of this being an impulse, you need to study the correction, the movement down, to see if it is corrective. And there's no doubt that this is looking very, very corrective. Lots of overlap, right? If you compare this movement to this one, right? It's like comparing this one to this one, right? Where do you think the price is going to go? To the lows, or is it going to find support and it's going to pump to the highs? Well, I think, you know, most of you guys would know the answer, right? There's a high chance that you do bounce here in between 50% and the 7/8 and take out the highs and not take out the lows. So this becomes your interest zone, right? So just in a nutshell here, let's go through the comment section. Let's see how many likes we do have, guys. 200 likes. I'm gonna go and take a hike. I need at least 500 likes, guys, to do a giveaway of $500. I'm gonna go through the comment section. Chain link is up 420%. Let's go. I'm gonna go and take a hike. When I come back, let's see if we do get to 300 likes at least, guys. Come on. We're trying to give you explanation and reading the chart and seeing the highest probability scenarios. And yeah, people are not appreciating it, which is no bueno. Anyway, looking at the price of Bitcoin, major pump and dump. What does stock market do? We need to talk about the different scenarios. I hope Ethereum is nuking. Nuke Ethereum to 4K. Below 4K. Nuke it down, guys. Bear market. Bull market is over. Let's take a look at Ethereum, see what it's doing. Oh, nice. Let's go Ethereum. Let's get down at least to 4K. Come on. Let's get down to sweep up these lows. This would be ideal. I mean, we do have a lot of support here. Don't get me wrong. Got that point of control. There is a chance of Ethereum really holding these lows. But if Bitcoin does start taking a hit to the downside, well, I would expect Ethereum, even though it's holding much better than Bitcoin, to really move down. Let's turn this trade into a 6-digit trade. If we get down to below 4K, it will. Let's go through Bitcoin, because this is the most bearish case, which I hope it does not happen. I hope it does not happen. I mean, I wouldn't care less. I'm not in any longs, and I'm not longing right now. But for all of those people that are longing and trying to put limit orders here and catch the low, just so they're safe. I don't think we would break down very aggressively, if I'm honest with you. I don't think we would break down very aggressively. I think there is a chance of forming a double bottom, which will bring me here to the next possible scenario that could happen here on Bitcoin. Just be aware that more, I mean, could this be the one and this the little two right there? It is possible, and we're just breaking down. It is possible. Let's bring out the other scenarios here. And this also is pretty bearish on the short term. This is pretty bearish in the short term. We did form a triangle here, which has an A, B, C, D, E. So there is a way of counting an A wave, a B wave. Triangle in wave 2s are not possible. So it's only possible in wave 4s, wave Bs, wave Xs, right? Not in wave 2s. And you have a 5-wave move to the downside here to complete that C wave, which would be right over here. And then you have this ABC flat. So you would have wave W in that zigzag, ABC flat in your wave X, and now a bang, wave A, bang, wave B, 𝗬𝗫𝗃, guys, to wave Y. Looks like it is this, you know, all of the scenarios were pointing out to take out those lows, guys, and we're basically going down there now. I hope that nobody longed on the news, okay? We don't trust the news, guys. Don't trust GDP growth. Maybe there's speculation coming out now that we're not going to see any interest rate cuts. Let me just refresh this because it might be the case. It's still up at 87%. I mean, there's such a big deal about interest rate cuts, guys. Do you know what happened in the previous decades when we got interest rate cuts? You know, it was followed by a massive recession. I mean, usually recession kicks in and then interest rates need to go down by default to pump money into the system and not go into a big financial crisis. Obviously, big inflation is followed, but interest rate cuts, I mean, we've been holding with high interest rates for a few years now. But, I mean, the data suggests that the GDP is high, unemployment is low. But you know how recessions come, guys. They come like this. Bang, that's it. Recession kicks in and you realize the next day on the news and you're already down 30%, right? So they just come out of nowhere. We cannot predict or you know, speculate on a recession. It's not worth it. So this is one scenario that could happen. I mean, this would be pretty aggressive. It would be sharp because what you would be looking at here is, you know, a 5-wave move to the downside that really can take us down to the low 100K levels. Right, and that would be pretty aggressive, right? People would be like, holy moly, what's going on, right? It's not looking good, bear market. But this is a very much potential scenario based on the waves, based on what we have, and based on the bounce that we had in the last few days, which is corrective, guys. You can think whatever you want, that the movement up that we had is corrective, which obviously increases the probabilities in taking out this low, as explained at the beginning of the stream. Regardless the pump of the news or whatever, you can think whatever you want based on data and based on, you know, fundamentals, that this movement up has low volume, is extremely overlappy. It's a 7-wave move up. It's a corrective structure. So you can believe whatever you want and have the best RSI, you know, oversold divergence, that the higher probability based on structure is taking out the low. So, and structure comes first, regardless of your best indicator or in Tradingview or from artificial intelligence. Doesn't matter. So this would be one scenario. I mean, this would very possibly start dropping aggressively in the next coming days. But it's not all doom and gloom, guys. There would be there's other scenarios eventually as well, okay, that we can double bottom and take out the highs, because there is a flat possibility here. Only for the brave, right? We'll talk about that. So if we were to fall down here aggressively, it's not only the massive bearish case, which would take you down to much lower levels, which is this one, right? I mean, this is really, going to lower levels. There is this one that is actually breaking down very aggressively, that would take you down. I mean, the most common target zone is the 1-to-1 to the 1236 extension from a double zigzag. Your Y target most commonly is the 1-to-1 to the 1236, which is coming down to $105,000 and $102,000 zone. So there is the potential. Would be a zone of interest to look for sign of weakness on the bears and really look for a reversal. That's if we were to get down there in the next coming days, 1 to 2 weeks. But you need to understand that there is potential for that to happen. Most bearish case, you go to much lower levels. The WXY double zigzag, looking at this being the finished structure, ABC flat and then zigzag down. So you do have a zigzag down. The correction, we do know that this is a flat followed by an aggressive zigzag down also. And this would be the same structure that we developed the last few days, right? Where you have a zigzag up, correction, another zigzag up. It's the same structure, but on a higher time frame and to the downside. So there is the potential of this. And this is not predicting that this is going to happen, guys. But if we move down like this in the next coming days, it gives you the edge to start looking for aggressive longs and a reversal if the price were to move down like this in the next coming days. Okay, so all of this building up the different scenarios. I know a lot of people, would get frustrated based on how many scenarios there is, but this is not predicting that it's going to happen. This is saying that if it does happen, it's in your best interest to start looking for signs of weakness on the movements down, find support, and look for a big fat reversal. And that is where I want to position myself with a big trade if it were to happen. I missed the long on Ethereum, but I realized if I missed the long, how there is high probability in forming a double top failed auction here. And to add to the position, if we close a 4-hourly candle, just realizing that this would be the finish of the movement up here for Ethereum. I got a comment a few days ago on a video saying that Ethereum is not going to go down below 4K. Well, I will have to respond to that comment if we do get down there, right? So, so that's the thing, trading is really being patient. I've lost interest in small little movements, guys. I've really lost interest just because I can get into bigger positions on bigger swings. I've really lost interest of what could ever happen here. Just I really don't care. It really depends on your style of trading, right? There's many people that scalp out there. 𝗖𝗿𝘆𝗽𝗍 is pretty cool. He does, uses, the VWAP, also the golden pocket and the 7/8 from movements, big movements that have happened. He does, really successfully look for little intraday scalps, which is very entertaining. Shout out to him. Also, Devil is very good with scalping. I've kind of lost interest and I've lost the edge on scalping, guys. I have to be honest. I've transitioned into more of a swing trade mentality just because I have enough capital to just get into bigger positions and higher probability movements on the higher time frame. So If you are interested in scalping, 𝗬𝗍𝘆 is an absolute machine in the Legends Pro. Okay, if you are interested in joining that, or if you're interested in my biggest swings that it takes some time to identify, all right, such as this one, this Ethereum swing short that I'm happy to hold, that was given in advance last weekend. This was on Sunday. And letting the people know when to add to this position with the 4-hourly close, all given in guidance, okay, inside of the Legends Pro community. If you want more information in that, make sure to join the Telegram, okay guys? If you join the Telegram, which is the first link down below, you can either join the Pro, which you have updates every single day, video updates, possible suggestions, okay? 𝗬𝗍𝘆 with the daily analysis, okay? You got the coaches there giving the guidance and levels and possible moves and where the setups could lie on. You got the Legends Pro. If you want the Legends, my VIP channel where I am looking for these bigger swings mainly to join in on those trades whenever they happen. The latest ones were this one right over here. 2 big major trades that I got in, guys, in 1 month. My main P&L that I've made in the last 30 days was this movement up on Bitcoin to all-time high, and this corrective move on Ethereum from all-time high, which is over a 10% move right now, which is a lot, right? I mean, this is like a big swing that you're looking for. These are the only 2 big major trades that have made me over $100,000. And that's, I like to share that. I like to share. I obviously get stopped out. I'm very cautious. I'm very protective and defensive. But when it happens, it happens. When it happens, keep the losses small, keep the wins big. If you're interested in that, you got the Telegram, guys, okay? That's where you're going to get the alpha and you're going to get my setups. And it's easy to join the Telegram, okay? The Telegram VIP where I share my big trades. It's only been 2 big trades in 1 month, guys. So you need to remain a little bit patient. I will try and get into more scalping in there, okay? With the help of 𝗬𝗍𝘆. We'll get to integrate that. You only need to sign up through one of the exchanges and that's it, okay? Do a minimum deposit on Bluffin all weeks and we'll get you in where I'm sharing my bigger trade setups. That's if you want to join me on the bigger setups, right? You probably don't give a damn, but I'm just sharing where I'm making the money here and trying to navigate this market and look for the highest probability zones. Anyway, let's go through the different scenarios that are available here because we have just tested that low. So high probability that we tested the low here, which we just did. Is this going to be a good swing failure pattern level? That is the question. Let's get back here to the action. Oh, getting a little bit of reaction. We know we need to be a little bit cautious on the swing failure patterns. Is there a possibility for a swing failure pattern here? Absolutely, yes, there is a possibility. Make sure to manage risk. We just ever so slightly. And I need to zoom in here. Ooh, just sitting on top of it. Just sitting on top of it. A bit aggressive. I wouldn't go too crazy. Small capital, manage risk, guys. We just tested the lows here from Tuesday. If you are trying to get into a swing failure pattern, I would go small. If it needs to bounce and it does get a sign of strength, you know the problem with these swing failure patterns that people go very aggressive. There are ways in getting into a swing failure pattern to not lose significant amount of your capital. If you're getting into this trade and you are projecting the other scenario that I did not talk about, which is this one right over here, this is possible still, because as we can count a 3-wave structure here, okay, we can count that this is your wave W as well. As this is corrective, there is a chance, as it is a double zigzag, a 3-wave structure, there is a chance to label this as an A wave. This is moving down a bit aggressive. Could you count this? I mean, if you were to get an epic bounce from here, I mean, this is where the lower time frames kicks in. It would be a pretty aggressive zigzaggy move. Lots of overlap here. But yeah, you could definitely count this as a three-wave structure. Because this movement down, that was the most aggressive, got a pretty significant bounce here. You want to try and label this as a wave 3, get your 4 and 5, right? And then you know that this is an impulse. However, the biggest move down did get a massive rally here with the news, which was breaking a little bit of that downtrend, right? With the highest amount of volume. So a three-wave structure here would definitely be possible. And when we do take a look at the risk management point of view here, it's in your best interest that if you're looking to get into catch a double bottom, we are getting a wick, that your percentage of this long, say that you're speculating on this long, which has the potential, okay, of coming all the way up here, you can see the risk to reward. You don't need to go in here with $10,000 as a stop loss. You can go in with, you know, whatever your percent, you're happy with what risk you're taking here. But you could go in here with 0.5%, lower than usual. If it's going to recover, you will see signs of strength. Okay, these are catching the possible double bottom setups. Give or take a bit of room of a few $100s. The moment you get emotional is when you're risking too much. I can tell you, try it. Try and risk smaller percentage of your capital, guys. Try it. If you have $5,000 and you usually get into trades risking $1,000 or so, right? Or maybe 500 or 2,000, right? Which would be too aggressive with a $5,000 account as a stop loss. A lot of people just say, well, I'm just going to get in with 1,000 and my liquidation is down here, so I'm pretty good. And then the price really nukes down and that's it. End of the game. You no longer are participating in this game, right? You're liquidated, you're out. So that's a very, very common mistake that a lot of people do, but try it, guys. Get into a small, tiny position, 0.5. You have $5,000, get in with $25, right? Get in with, not 25, that would be much less than 0.5, $5,000, 10%. Yeah, well, it would be $25. It would be $25, 0.5. If the price needs to bounce and form a flat here based on this structure, if it does need to bounce and take out this high, you will see a sign of strength. You will see a recovery. You will see a bounce. That bounce, it is crucial to understand that it is looking pretty impulsive, right? Just like the price action that we had yesterday, right? This was a clear 5-wave move. If you are going to get a bounce from this zone, you will see a 5-wave impulsive move. You will see a good structure. If you are entering with 0.5% as a stop loss here, if you get stopped out, it doesn't matter. It's a small amount. If it gets up here, it's already 3%, right? What's the risk to reward? 6 to 1, right? There is a way of increasing that position. Once you get this massive impulsive move, you will likely form some kind of a corrective structure that will be easy to identify once you have overlapping momentum. Once this movement down and bounce and movement down, if this wave 3 does not crash down and you start overlapping inside of the previous waves, that is the moment that you add 1 to 2% more in this position. It is not worth going in a big position on a swing failure pattern that has the potential to nuke down and not have any stop losses. It's not worth it. It's good to get in because you would catch an epic trade, okay? But you should definitely understand with the downside risk that you want to go with lower percentage risk here. It's not worth it. There's too many downside possibilities on the movement down, which is happening right now, right? We are losing the level. There's too many downside potential. So that would have been a stop loss, right? Or almost, if you put it a few $100s, you know, you're looking at this to be stopped out. You're losing the low. It did not swing failure pattern. You're losing it. But you've gone with less risk here. Okay, maybe it did not hit the stop loss if you're giving a few $100, and it might just create one more wick down. But ultimately what you want to see is that sign of strength here, right? This is going to give you the edge, where from that position, aggressive double bottom, right, swing failure pattern that you entered, that's when you add aggressively after the first leg up, because we know that you are going to get corrections. You are going to get corrections, and you are going to get the momentum to increase after the sign of strength. So it's in your best interest to wait for the sign of strength here. And then analyze this correction. When you realize that it's overlapping right after the third wave, it overlaps the first wave, you realize that this is high probability, and that's when you can add 1 to 2%, and you're going heavy on this trade. Eventually your position would go up, right? And your stop loss, you know, you can put it close to break even as the price action is still in this range. But ultimately it would give you that edge of having higher probability to get into the third wave here. So yeah, just some little tips here, guys. Some little tips on trying to ride the waves, right? And realizing where a sign of strength can be developed. So, and you need to realize that catching these double bottom swing failure patterns, they ultimately have significant risk, especially when you have multiple bearish case scenarios, right? So, you know, get into a smaller position in this zone. You can have 1 attempt or 2 attempts if you're risking 0.5. And get back in, right? Add to the position only if you get the big major rally first and you can identify the movement down as a correction. That's when you want to go in heavy, because you realize that a third wave up is very, very likely to happen, right? And then possibly you form this ABC flat. On the higher time frame, this ABC flat, on the higher time frame, this is where Ethereum becomes very interesting as well. If Ethereum does not manage to break down here in the next coming hours and gets a nice bounce, I will be likely taking profits. Okay, when the third wave, you do have the potential of a double 1-2, but yeah, I'm not, you know, I will be taking profits. And if you do bounce here and get very close to these highs, it will be in my best interest to really just look for longs. This will no longer be a bearish move. So, I mean, that will happen in the next coming days once we get that information. For the moment, I am looking for the breakdown here. So let's see if that does happen. If it doesn't, we get an epic bounce. Yeah, we'll just take the rest of the profits from that short, which won't be a 6-digit, but it will still be okay. So looking at this scenario, guys, still, even though this would be a trap zone, guys, it would definitely be a trap zone. Form a double bottom, and if we were to get that rally all the way up to these highs in an impulse, we need to be very, very cautious. There is no, I mean, there would be a way of fitting that WXY here. I don't like it personally, right? This one right over here, where instead of this forming a large impulsive move, it would have the potential of finishing. So, I mean, the highest probability throughout the movement down that we had today was hitting the low. The low has been hit, and technically you have a zigzag here. So maybe that was it. We would eventually have to see a big power. I will be looking for longs on the sign of strength, because I do realize here that there is the potential that this could have been the local low. I wouldn't think so, but it's definitely worth getting into the sign of strength higher low, regardless if you come down later. It's just worth it. This would be a TP zone without a doubt. But you have that potential of having this structure finished. I don't think it's going to be the case, but might as well leave a little bit open after taking some profits and being defensive, right? This other scenario looks very interesting, where you have the zigzag down, right? We've explained this. You do count a 5-wave move to the downside here. You got your flat A, B. You got another 5-wave down here in your wave C to finish your zigzag. And now this, as this is a zigzag move, there is the potential of this to be a 3-wave structure for a flat. Move up in an impulse, take out the highs. You come to the most important zone of resistance of this entire range of the last few months, which is the value area low, the anchored VWAP. It's just a perfect recipe to actually form a flat here and really collapse down later on, eventually in another zigzag move, right, to get to the low 100k levels. Longs are preferred eventually down here after an SFP with good risk management. If you are going to form this wave to the upside, you are going to move up in some kind of a 5-wave structure. So pay attention to that move up and pay attention to the correction, because that is where you would want to get in heavily. Add to the position if you're already in, right? That would be what I would be looking for here, to be confident that we might get that stretch here to take out 113.5 at a bare minimum, right? Maybe 114, maybe 115. But this is the zone where you would obviously expect the price to struggle very much. It might not happen, guys, right? You need the first leg up. You need the first 5-wave move up to believe that this is the scenario that's going to happen, and you create 3, 4, 5. You need this information here to really give this scenario priority. So it's all about information on the chart, right? If you get this information in the next coming hours, that you can clearly find a nice 5-wave move up and a very choppy corrective structure on the correction, you know that this movement up has high probability. So we need that information, right? We need that first initial sign of strength. This is not enough right now. We have too many bearish cases. Too many bearish cases here, which is this one, which is eventually breaking down in a 5-wave move, a bit more aggressive. We also have the extreme bearish case, which I don't think is going to happen, but who knows? If we start nuking down, then it is what it is. Yeah, this one is not relevant anymore. So that's a little bit it, guys. I hope you enjoyed a little bit of the explanations here. Stay cautious, okay? We have tested the lows. We are attempting a double bottom. Realize the risks. It is not worth it to really increase positions here. You know, you might be lucky and you might get the bounce, okay? But preferably, if you are a good trader, you will look for the sign of strength, which is getting the first leg to the upside. Okay, that's the moment with a 5-wave impulse and a corrective overlappy structure that you realize that this is highly likely. That's with the information that we do have right now, and it does become risky. Yeah, attempt a swing failure pattern with 0.5% is not bad idea, guys. Here, it's not a bad idea, as mentioned, purely based on this scenario, right? very much could get that flat here. So anyway, I hope you like the explanation, guys. Make sure to destroy the like button if you do enjoy the explanations, right? As a trader myself, I am very careful. I have a reputation to follow, okay? And I can't give any random trades on the Telegram. I need to be very, very cautious, prove my track record, prove the big trades that are coming to fruition, and I can't give every single movement a trade. There is a reputation on the line here. And if you want more info on that, guys, join the Telegram. You got the first link down below in the description. If you are, willing to trade on other exchanges, Bluffin and Weeks have awesome bonuses, guys. Awesome bonuses. Bluffin, Weeks, they do get the biggest bonuses with the links down below. 10% cashback on Bluffin, guys. 10% cashback up to $3,000. Depending on what you deposit, you get VIP 1, VIP 2, and you get instant access to my VIP channel on the Telegram, okay? Once you sign up and deposit on these exchanges, either Weeks, either Bluffin, you got one of them to choose down below. Bluffin, Weeks, BTCC, make your minimum deposit and join the Telegram VIP channel where I am posting my larger time frame setups mainly. I'm going to try and get some scalps in there just to get it more entertaining, but stay cautious here, guys. Stay cautious. I know your favorite YouTuber might think that this is the low and we're just buying limit longs here. Eventually, if you have infinite money to add to the position, well, you're going to be fine. You're eventually going to bounce at some stage, but I know a lot of people will get hurt. And a lot of people will risk more than they're willing to lose using too much leverage. Stay cautious, guys. This is not a game for everybody, okay? This is not a game for everybody. A lot of people do not know how to handle their emotions and cut losses, okay? I had a very interesting scenario today in the VIP channel because I did get stopped out on one position, and I got a funny emoji here because I exited the position, and I just shared my trades over the last month, and I shared my P&L, guys. And yeah, the P&L is, we could not joke about it. Okay, got someone, having a little laugh because I exited a Bitcoin trade, and I was just sharing my 30-day P&L, and the trades where I made the most amount of money. It really depends on your trading, right? I'm more in a swing trading environment at the moment. But anyway, it's kind of funny. Anyway, never mind. We're not here. It's over for the bulls. Yes, it's not looking too sexy, eh? All of the scenarios pointed out that this low, sooner rather than later, was going to be taken at some point because the movement that we had up is corrective, guys, and we got the low taken on stream. So yeah, that proves the probability, right? That proves the probabilities of the reading of the chart. I made 4K last week, lost 6K this week, says AI. Yeah, I know. I get you. I lost 1.8K today. I lost $1,800 today. But it was a very small position, and I exited before my stop loss was hit. And I shared that with the Telegram, guys. I could not hide anything here. I could not hide in anything. It shared the intro, and obviously I'm sharing my Ethereum position. This is well offsetting the P&L for the month. Just part of the game, guys. Getting stopped out, exiting, Anyway, let's go right away through share the knowledge and help others. Financial freedom. Absolutely. That's what we're doing here, my man. That's what we're doing. Where can I find your Telegram? The first link down below is the Join Community Telegram, where you can get access to either the Pro Community, which you have 𝗬𝗏𝗆, myself, other coaches such as Dylan, providing different scenarios, setups, looking at altcoins, Bitcoin and Ethereum mainly, for myself and 𝗬𝗏𝗆, okay? And then the VIP, you can also get access with the first link. That's where I share, you know, the bigger trades that I'm looking for. And you get instant access with that just by signing up either to Bluffin or to Weeks. Okay, down below, one of the links down below, guys, and you get the awesome bonuses anyway. Okay, 10% cashback on Bluffin, and you join the VIP. What else could you want? Andy Rune, let's take a look at Rune. Enough talking here. What happened to the S&P? My goodness, we've got a bit of a dumpy action here on the S&P 500 after the GDP growth, guys. You can see how you cannot rely on the news. You cannot rely on it, right? Good news is bad news on the chart. Sell the news. Sell the good news. We've seen it proven on the charts. Good news with the Fed, right? Jerome Powell speech. Good news today with the GDP growth. Pump and dump, guys. Sell the news. Let's take a look at Rune right away. I do have some Rune in my portfolio. And it's not looking that great. Let's be honest. It's not looking that great. Rune. I fear that this pump that looks very 5 wavy, it does look very much like an impulse. Yeah. Oof. I have my doubts here. 3 wave up, correction, 3 wave up. I have my doubts here on Rune for this to be impulsive. And also, if it were to be impulsive, there is a little bit of bad news here where you have a pump, 3 wave down, and a 5 wave up, expanding flat. Not the best low. You don't want to create a low with a 3 wave move down. It's over, guys. Bear market. It's over. It's over, guys. Take profits. Yeah, it's pretty funny how I was actually looking at some influencer out there saying, I'm taking profits here. It's like, what profits? What profits are you taking? Most of the altcoins are down, close to bear market lows, unless you're talking about Ethereum or Solana or Chainlink, right? I'm taking profits on my altcoins, guys. What profits? There's no profits, guys. It's a massive loss on most of the altcoins. Let's stay real here. Most of my altcoins are, well, not most, but I would say half of them are in a loss. This is why 80% of my portfolio is Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Chainlink. That's it. They're all in profit. The good ones are in profit, not by much, 3, 4, 5x, but they're in the green. And most of my altcoin investments are in the red, unrealized. Lots of them, guys. But this is the game of altcoins. You want to play? You want to fuck around with altcoins? Well, then you have to pay the price. 50% alts are in the dust. Yeah, exactly. They are in the dust. I don't even look at them because they're just such a small percentage. I know I would make a bit of money if they do a 10x, but not really too bothered, guys. The percentage thing about the altcoins is very important. You mean we will crash, Amori? Not necessarily. I do see the Bitcoin dominance getting a bounce, guys, at some point. We did claim the lows again. That's not good. If you get Bitcoin dominance going down and altcoins not performing that well, it's Ethereum season. But if you get the Bitcoin dominance, if you get the Bitcoin dominance moving down like this, and I mean, a lot of the altcoins, I mean, it's high cap season. Solana's doing pretty okay. Ethereum's hit all-time high last week. It's mainly the big players. Chainlink is not performing that bad. The big players, right? Maybe 𝗖𝗿𝘆𝗽, maybe some of, XRP, these are pretty damn good. We've had a pretty nice rally in the last few months, but a lot of them are still very low. And I think the Bitcoin dominance is going to get some kind of a bounce here entering into September. And holy moly, well, what does that mean? That means that, man, it's not going to be looking too great, right, for the altcoins, at least in the short term. This percentage move down, altcoins should have performed much better, guys, with this drop on the Bitcoin dominance, right? They should have performed a bit better. Let's stay honest here. I know your favorite altcoin 𝗬𝗫𝗍𝗫 out there that is saying you are weak hands and you're going to get shaked out and he's probably going to get you wrecked. Is saying that the best is yet to come. I mean, I do believe that the best is still yet to come, because this movement down does look pretty impulsive. And even though we get a bounce that would get wrecked, right, unrealized losses in the short term, I would expect a leg down later on, okay? Which this one has to be the one that gives the power and the love for the altcoins. But a short-term bounce here looks, for me anyway, inevitable. It does look like that we will get that bounce on the Bitcoin dominance, unfortunately. And as the altcoins haven't performed that well with this drop, except for a few of them, then wow, where is this going to take us, guys? Where is this bounce going to take us on a few of the altcoins? It's pretty devastating, right? Anyway, trade the markets, guys. Trade the markets. I'm short on Ethereum. I'm tempted in taking profits here, depending on how we react. I would love to see a little bounce and follow through here, but the weekend is coming, so the weekend can be a bit rangy. Anyway, trade the markets. I did sell some Ethereum at all-time high, 15% of my spot bags. Not enough, guys, not enough. But this is why I'm hedging, right, as well against my Ethereum holdings with this short from all-time high. For me, if it gets stopped out at break even, then I'll just have to sell some more spot. We are here to short the market as well, not only long. Legends, thank you very much for joining, okay? Much love to everybody and smashing up that like button. We got to 300 likes. Absolutely awesome. Andy, can you take a look at 𝗬𝗫𝗍𝗫𝗍? Okay, let's do 𝗬𝗫𝗍𝗫𝗍. Cookie. Let's take a look at Cookie. Thanks for smashing up the like, legends. Much love to everybody. 𝗬𝗫𝗍𝗫𝗍𝗬𝗫𝗍. I want to take a look at 𝗬𝗫𝗍𝗫𝗍. I want a little bit more data if possible. There's probably none. Yeah, most of the exchanges launched this. I mean, do we have more? I'm trying to look for the crypto. Maybe gate.io. Yeah, no. I want more data here on 𝗬𝗫𝗍𝗫𝗍, which I do not have. 𝗬𝗫𝗍𝗫𝗍, potentially. They're usually pretty fast in launching. Yeah, there we go. Oof. Wow, what a rally this had. 𝗬𝗫𝗍𝗫𝗍, insane in 2024. Absolutely insane. But you can see how quick those gains come down. Personally, I do not like this movement up. We could give it an impulse. We could give this a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But it does look a bit 3-wavy, if honestly. You want a larger 4th wave, preferably. Wow. The movement down does look pretty corrective. Yeah, not an easy one on this one, because you got this low, this bounce, this low, this bounce, and now this low. You would expect a relief rally on this one at some point in the next coming weeks. Pretty large, but it can be. Okay, this can go to 0. I mean, it's very hard because you can really count this as a 3-wave structure 5 wave. You've got a very small 4 wave right there. Not the best, but it's eventually going to get a bounce, because regardless if this is bearish in a contracting diagonal or an ABCDE, well, it would have to be a WXYZ if it's going to be a 5 wave and a corrective structure. You are looking for a relief rally on this one. You are looking for it to bounce. The problem is how powerful is this bounce going to be? But yeah, this is likely going to bounce at some stage in the next coming weeks. Okay, looks pretty good. Very long pullback for several months. Stay cautious with your trading, guys. We got a dumpy action on Bitcoin taking out the low. I will be letting know the pro community and the Telegram a little bit of my analysis, my point of view, what I'm looking for. Thank you very much for joining. Remember, check out the bonuses, guys. If you sign up through Weeks or Bluffin, you get access to the VIP channel. Join the Telegram down below to get more info on that. Thank you guys for smashing up the like. I hope you like the analysis and the projections for Bitcoin that we're looking at for the next coming days. Much love to everybody, and I'll see you in the next one.